The fall of Atlas is going to bring great tragedy and hardship to many different people. But through this tragedy, in these times of despair when all hope seems lost, this is when people can truly surprise you. The wish of a simple soul can be a very powerful thing, especially in the world of RWBY, when the outcry of one's soul could often mean the awakening of a new power. We've seen this multiple times throughout the RWBY series, the most notable of which being at the end of Volume 3, with Ruby's desire to protect her friends, awakening the power of her Silver Eyes. And then again in Volume 5, with Jean's will to want to save Weiss, awakening his own semblance. And most recently, in Episode 7 of Volume 8, with Ren, when his soul came to the conclusion that he seemed to be searching for the past volume and a half, that no one is replaceable. He unlocked a new ability of his semblance. His semblance evolved into something different where he can see the truth of others' emotions. And I think we are going to see multiple instances of this as we progress throughout Volume 8. And one of the more notable ones, I think, will be Whitley Schnee, as he will very likely be put into a situation where he could potentially lose everything. All those that he cares about, his livelihood, and even his own life. In these times of despair, when we are subjected to fear, as in Ozpin's speech, this is when we truly find out who we really are, what is most valuable to us, whether we value our own lives or the lives of others, whether we will put ourselves at risk to save our loved ones. And I think Whitley will realize what is truly important to him. Not succeeding his father or the Schnee Dust Company, but his family, those who truly care about him. We saw a hint of this at the end of the last episode, with Weiss and Whitley making that first connection. They have a long way to go to make up for past hardships and things that they've put each other through, as well as recovering from everything that Jacques has done to them, but both of them now realize that they care about each other, and Whitley, at his core, is a caring person. When he saw Nora in need of help, he was the one who called a doctor. He was the one who knew what to do and sought out help for her. And I think he will do whatever it takes to protect those that he loves. In particular, Weiss, as I feel Willow will end up sacrificing herself in an effort to save both of her children, Weiss and Whitley, as well as all of their friends, when the Hound, and soon after, Cinder Fall, comes searching for the Winter Maiden, who is currently being cared for at the Schnee Manor. So, in an effort to help them all escape, especially when caring for two injured parties, Nora and Penny, they would need someone to act as a decoy, and I feel Willow will fill that role. If that is the case, that is already going to put Whitley in the mindset of starting to lose everything he cares about. He already lost his father, but really that's probably for the better. But in this case, he would have lost his mother permanently. His father is currently still in prison. We'll see what ends up happening to him by the end of Volume 8. But if Weiss is the only one left there for Whitley, and the Hound ends up defeating Willow and catching up to Weiss and the rest of the group later on, Weiss making that last stand to allow Whitley to escape, just imagine what would go through his head. He already let his mother sacrifice herself for their sake. Would he let Weiss do the same? Would he watch his sister be beaten down by the Hound? Or perhaps it could even go the route where Cinder or the Hound catch up to them and are able to take them by surprise, and Weiss and everyone else who is capable of fighting in that group gets beaten down by the Hound or Cinder or both of them at the same time. And as they are on the brink of death, when the Hound or Cinder is about to land that finishing blow, Whitley, who is unable to do anything at that point, just wants it all to stop, wants to do whatever he can to save his sister and her friends as a result. He, I think, will have the chance to go through an awakening. The semblance of glyphs is one held by all of the Schnee family, after all. And if this situation, or something similar, does come to pass, then the outcry of his soul, the torment that Whitley will have gone through, is probably more than any other Schnee has gone through when awakening their semblance before him. And this puts Whitley in the opportunity to awaken something, or even surpass Weiss, Winter, and even Willow or Nicholas Schnee in his ability to summon right out of the gate. As Winter said back in Volume 3, it is the enemies that push us past who we were to become who we are now. Those are the ones that the Schnees are capable of summoning to their side. And I think this is exactly what is going to happen to Whitley. In this moment, the Hound and Cinderfall are going to push Whitley past who he was to become someone new. He will realize that he wants to save Weiss, and the outcry of his soul will awaken his semblance, and be the first instance of where he might be able to summon an enemy that still stands before him. In particular, the Hound. Now, there is a lot of theories out there, including my own, that the Hound is an amalgamation of Grimm and a human. If that's actually the case, I doubt the summoning glyphs would be able to summon it, because I don't think glyphs can summon humans, only the soulless monsters that are Grimm. And also, to be able to summon a specific Grimm, I'm guessing the aura of the individual, the Schnee in this case, whether it be Weiss, Winter, or Willow and Whitley, would have to interact with the Grimm with their aura in some way for their aura to get an imprint of the Grimm to be able to summon it. So there is some intricacy that would need to happen. Perhaps the Hound would end up grabbing Whitley like he did with Oscar, and realizing that he's of no threat, toss him aside and not even see him as someone worth killing, and then go over to Weiss, RWBY, Blake, everyone else that is there, and get them out of the way as they are the potential threats to himself, Cinder, Salem, and then just take Penny alive. And seeing that starts to happen, seeing how the Hound doesn't see him as a threat, or just simply seeing that the Hound is going to kill Weiss, this could easily awaken Whitley's semblance, and I would be really curious to see if Whitley could summon the Hound, or even if he just needs to get an image of Grimm that he has seen in the Schnee Manor. I made a video previously about Willow's potential summons, before we actually got the reveal of the RWBY DC Comics, where she might potentially be able to summon a Nevermore. I was thinking that the Grimm in the Schnee Manor might be previous summons or current summons of Willow Schnee. But if Whitley only needs to see them, those wouldn't really be counted as enemies that pushed him past who he once was to become who he is now, but there could be some symbolism in there, being sculptures within the Schnee Manor, and now he's no longer caring about the wealth and fame that those sculptures kind of represent. Maybe. It's a bit of a reach, I'll admit, but I would really like to see Whitley summon the King Taijitu sculpture that is in the Schnee Manor. I just want to see someone summon a King Taijitu, whether it's Willow or Whitley. You know, I want to see someone summon one of those things, because we haven't seen a King Taijitu back since, well, volumes 1 to 3, so, yeah, I would really like to see the King Taijitu as a summon, and fighting alongside Whitley or Willow would be an amazing thing to see. But more to the point, if Whitley is able to summon a copy of the Hound that is able to fight against the Hound, not necessarily on equal footing, as I don't think it would have the same shape-shifting capabilities, but it would be able to buy enough time for Whitley to maybe get everyone else onto the ship that May would be piloting and help get them out of the way and escape from the Hound or Cinder. Awakening a semblance in this way would certainly drain him right out of the gate, and he wouldn't be able to maintain it for long, as he wouldn't have the aura control that the trained huntresses would have, but, you know, it would still be an amazing scene for Whitley to awaken his semblance, and I think surpass Weiss and Winter right out of the gate, which would mean that Whitley would have incredible potential to be a huntsman in the future. However, I don't see that as the path Whitley was going to take. Instead, I think Whitley will take up the mantle as the true heir to the Schnee legacy, the legacy that Nicholas Schnee wanted to leave behind, that was misconstrued by Jacques' interference. The legacy of wanting to help others, make the Schnee Dust Company something of trust that others can look towards and see hope that they are bringing stability to the kingdoms, bringing dust and uniting everyone. That is why Nicholas Schnee built the company the way he did, why he personally guided each shipment of dust to the different kingdoms and the different areas when the company was first starting out, to build that trust and the reputation that the company would uphold. And I think that is what Whitley is going to fill. he is going to become the true heir to the Schnee family. And once all of the dust settles in Atlas and the war that is going to encompass all of Remnant, Whitley will use whatever resources that are available to him to help rebuild, find stability for the people who currently don't have it, using the resources of the Schnee Dust Company and all of the wealth that Jacques was able to build up, with now being passed into Whitley's possession, with Jacques being disgraced and a criminal. I doubt he's really going to have that. Whitley's going to gain control of it and is going to take up the mantle of the Schnee Dust Company, moving forward and bringing it into a much more positive light. I think that is what Whitley's future is going to lay out to be. I do think that Jacques is probably going to survive Volume 8 and maybe have some moral epiphany. I really don't want to see that for him. I would love to see him just, stay in prison, because we've already seen in Volume 8 that the prison sentence itself really hasn't done much to change his attitude, and he doesn't really show any remorse for the lives that he caused to be lost, so, I don't really see him returning to power in any way, shape, or form, but I do still see him surviving and possibly being a subservient member of the Schnee Dust Company to Whitley, someone who will do what he can under Whitley's guidance to move forward. It'll be an interesting dynamic to see how that all works out, but that's the path that I think Volume 8 might take in terms of the Schnee family itself. Willow potentially making her last stand and final sacrifice to save her children, and Whitley, upon seeing Weiss about to be taken from him as well, or possibly even when he sees his mother about to be taken, will go through that awakening. I feel it would be more fitting for Whitley to see that when Weiss is about to be taken out after he's already lost his mother. That level of despair would cause Whitley's semblance to awaken, and awaken in such a way that it would be quite spectacular to see, I would think. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think that this makes sense, that Whitley will go through some sort of awakening? Maybe not to the level of which I described, that he would be able to summon something as powerful as the Hound, but that he might be able to even just awaken glyphs, and use the glyphs, just the basic ones that control, push, and pull forces, to push Cinder and the Hound back, to take them by surprise, to allow them just those extra couple seconds to escape. Even that I could see as very likely, though I would love the grandiose scene of Whitley being able to summon something as big and powerful as the Hound, to be able to fight against Cinder, which, seeing Cinder taken by surprise by having the Hound start fighting her as well, would be something I would love to see, but, we'll have to see how things progress in the future. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm really curious to know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this theory, these ideas that have been presented, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe, because there's plenty more to come. Tweet me at PhoenixKnight7, and I'll see you guys in the next video.